In the 1630s, the richest country on earth lost its mind over a flower. This is how a single tulip cost more than a house. The Dutch Republic was booming. Its ships ruled the seas, its merchants ruled trade, and money was flooding into a small, ambitious nation. A new class of merchants had more money than they knew how to spend, and they were desperate for ways to show the world how rich they had become. Enter the tulip. New to Europe, brought from the Ottoman Empire, unlike any flower the Dutch had ever seen, with intense colors that seemed almost painted. At first, tulips were simply a luxury for the wealthy, a living jewel for the garden. But then something happened that no one could have predicted. Some bulbs produced flowers with wild, flame-like streaks of color. These broken tulips were breathtaking. No one understood why it happened. We now know a virus caused the streaks, but back then, the unpredictability only made them more precious. The value lived in this, a plain brown bulb. Rarity plus mystery plus beauty fought. Prices for rare bulbs began to climb, then to soar. Wealthy collectors competed to own the most spectacular variety. The rarest bulb of all, the Semper Augustus, reached a price that could buy a grand canal-side mansion in the heart of Amsterdam. Ordinary people watched the rich grow richer and asked the fatal question of every bubble, why not me? And so the madness spread downward. Tulip trading moved out of gardens and into taverns. In smoky backrooms, weavers, bakers, and farmers began buying and selling bulbs they had never even seen. Here is the strange part. The bulbs were in the ground for most of the year, so people started trading promises, the right to a bulb that did not yet exist. It was the world's first futures market. A single bulb might be sold 10 times in a day, passing through 10 hands, and never once leave the soil.
People sold their tools, their livestock, even their homes to buy into the boom. Why work for years when one bulb could make you rich in a week?
One record survives of a single bulb traded for a staggering pile of goods. Oxen, pigs, sheep. By the winter of 1636, the frenzy peaked, prices doubled, then doubled again in a matter of weeks. At the peak, the most prized bulbs sold for 10 times what a skilled craftsman earned in an entire year. For a flower that would wilt in a week.
On paper, thousands of ordinary Dutchmen were now rich. They spent freely, borrowed heavily, and waited for spring.
But almost none of that wealth actually existed. It was all promises tent, paper contracts for future bulbs.
Every bubble needs only one moment of doubt to end. For the Tulip Mania, that moment came in February 1637. In the town of Haarlem, a routine bulb auction opened as always. The auctioneer called for bids, and for the first time bait, no one answered.
He lowered the price. Still nothing. The buyers, who days ago would have fought each other, now sat frozen.
The news spread like fire. If bulbs could not be sold, the promises were worthless. Everyone tried to sell at once face, and there were no buyers left on earth. In days, prices collapsed by more than 90%. A contract worth a house on Monday was worth almost nothing by Friday. Those who had sold everything to buy at the peak were ruined. They owned paper promising bulbs no one would ever pay for. Buyers refused to pay for contracts now worth nothing. Sellers demanded their money. Thousands of disputes flooded a legal system that had no idea what to do. The courts made a historic decision. These were gambling debts, not real contracts. They simply refused to enforce them at all. It was a rough mercy. Most contracts were quietly cancelled or settled for pennies. The paper fortunes vanished as quickly as they had appeared. The tulips themselves were fine. They bloomed that spring as beautiful as ever. It was only the belief around them that had died.
Here is the surprise that historians love. The Dutch economy barely flinched. Within a year,
Because most of the wealth had only ever been on paper, few real fortunes were truly destroyed. The Great Crash hurt pride far more than it hurt the nation.
But the moralists had a feast. Preachers and satirists seized on the mania as proof of greed and folly, a nation that had worshipped a flower.
Artists painted mocking scenes of monkeys and fools trading tulips. The message was clear. This is what happens when greed replaces reason. And yet the tulip's real legacy was beauty. Dutch painters filled canvases with them. Some of those paintings are now worth far more than any bulb ever was, the only place the legendary broken tulip shines. The Dutch never fell out of love with the flower. Today, the Netherlands grows billions of tulips a year. But the deepest legacy of the tulip mania is a warning we keep forgetting. Because the exact same story has repeated itself, again and again, ever since. Every bubble follows the same curve the tulips drew. A rise, a frenzy, a peak of total confidence wrote, and then a collapse that everyone swears they never saw coming. The South Sea bubble, the Wall Street crash, the dot-com boom, the housing crisis. Each time people said the same words, this time is different. It is never different. The asset changes, a flower, a stock, a coin. The human mind that chases it has not changed at all. Historians still argue about how wild the mania truly was. Some say the wildest stories were exaggerated by moralists eager to teach a lesson. But whether the details were true or exaggerated, the core lesson has never loosed its power, and every generation has to relearn it the hard way. Walk through Amsterdam's flower market today, and you can buy for a few coins the same kind of bulb that once cost a mansion. The madness is hard to imagine. The bulb never changed, only what people believed it was worth. And that, in the end, is what every price on earth really is, a shared belief. 4 centuries later, the tulip has outlived every fortune won and lost over it. It simply keeps blooming. In every economics course on earth, the very first bubble students learn about is this one. Tulip mania became the permanent symbol of financial madness. Its name is now shorthand. When any market goes insane, someone always says the same 3 words. It's tulip mania. And somewhere, right now, another bubble is inflating. A new asset everyone is certain will only go up. The tulips are always with us. The real records still survive in Dutch archives. The contracts, the prices, the names of ordinary people who bet everything on a flower. Behind every entry was a real person with real hopes. A weaver, a baker, a farmer. The taverns where fortunes rose and fell are gone, but the streets remain. The same canals, the same gabble. It is easy to laugh at the Dutch for losing their minds over a flower. But before you do, look closely at what your own age calls priceless. Tulips are still auctioned in the Netherlands every single day, calmly now, rationally, a stable business worth billions. The flower finally found a sensible price.
The Dutch even invented a calmer way to sell flowers. The price starts high and falls until someone buys. The nation that once bankrupted itself in imagination over this flower turned it, in the end, into a lasting source of real and quiet wealth. For the millions who visit the tulip fields each spring, the flower is simply beautiful again, the madness a strange story from long ago. The broken tulips that started it all live now only in these paintings, a beauty so perfect it drove a nation mad, preserved forever in oil and light.
Look at it, and for just a moment you can understand them. You can almost see why someone would trade a house for this.
The tulip mania endures not because it was the biggest crash, but because it was the purest might. Greed and beauty and belief, stripped down to a single flower. Every morning, markets open, and the oldest game begins again. Fear, greed, and the eternal hope. Walk these canals and you walk where it happened, Chez, where a flower briefly became worth more than everything, and then worth almost nothing at all. One petal, one promise, one shared illusion. That is all a bubble ever is, and all it ever needs to begin.
The Dutch survived their madness and grew richer than ever. But they left us a warning we have never quite managed to learn.
Next time, the calm before catastrophe Tornia, a great and ancient earthquake that shattered a nation's faith in a single morning. Subscribe, because the next bubble is always just a flower away, and history only rhymes for those who listen.